Welcome into the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, a great defensive back in his playing days, East Carolina, and now part of the Pirate Radio Network. And Kevin, change of pace. 5-game losing streak is over, and the Pirates on the winning end, 22-7 at Florida Atlantic last week. Andrew Conrad with a school record, 5 field goals. And the Pirates get off the slide, and they'll be looking to create a winning streak as they go to Navy this week.
Certainly good to be talking to you after a win, Al, but I don't think the Pirates' offensive woes are behind them by any means. But the defense stepped up and the way they have been all year long, even more so, holding FAU to 21 yards rushing, keeping their number one receiver just to a few catches. And you can just tell that the quarterback, Richardson, was very frustrated on the evening, just trying to get the ball to his guy. They had several 3-and-outs. So the defense did what they've been doing for most of the season. Offensively, the Pirates were able to move the ball in the scoring position, but only getting one touchdown out of that and having to settle for field goals. So it was one of those things where you're excited about the win. You'll take the win, absolutely, but you want to get that offense going. And I don't know that they will before the end of the year, but maybe just with the combination of scoring every now and then and Conrad and this good defense, maybe they can eke out 2 more wins.
Kevin, Conrad hit 5 field goals from beyond 40 yards or beyond, but a block punt helped set the tone for the win, and that was Julian Davis and then Gerald Green with an 18-yard scoring run. So the Pirates set the tone with a 7-0 lead early on, and then relied on the foot of Andrew Conrad to add to the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it was exciting to get something to happen on special teams. I think we talked about that in the keys of the game last week. Just that you got to make a play on special teams to win a game, on the road like this is definitely an exciting thing. And, Gerald Green kind of picking up where he left off in terms of, finding a way to get in the end zone. The Pirates, were, I would say, taking advantage of opportunities. And that's one of the things that, we haven't seen a whole lot this year. We've seen the defense come up with some plays, some scoop and scores, some pick sixes, but to get a block punt was huge in this game. I think it kind of turned the momentum on its head and towards the Pirates. And so getting that victory, finding a way to get it done on field goals, even though, maybe they weren't able to punch it in on the ground or in the air most of the game. I think it still adds confidence to this team. It lets the offense know that, hey, even if they can't score, that Conrad's got their back. Probably give the coaching staff more confidence in Conrad as a kicker. So a lot of positives came out of this game. And after 5 losses, you just want to get a win. They say winning cures all ails. And so it was good just to get in the winner's column.
Kevin, Florida Atlantic was 4 for 17 on third downs, and that's a good ratio for the Pirate defense. And, Florida Atlantic had scored 42 points the previous week at UAB. So it's not an offense that had been struggling by any means. They had 484 yards total offense against the Blazers. But they did shut down LaJohntay Wester. And I think they game planned for him and bracketed the coverage. And he had 4 catches, I believe, for 38 yards. And he was among the national leaders as a receiver. So they took away the Panthers' main scoring or receiving threat.
Yeah, I think Western was the leading receptions guy in the nation coming into the game. And so they've just been finding a way to get him the football all over the field. And you're right. It was a bracketing strategy, whether it was a corner or a linebacker. Someone was always in his face, jamming him at the line of scrimmage. And the reason that worked is because Western, for all of his speed and elusiveness, is not very big. If he was more than 160 pounds soaking wet, I'd be surprised. And so getting hands on him, getting off his rhythm, shoving him around a little bit, I think it got him frustrated. And so it was hard for him to get into his routes the way he wanted to. And then once he got going, he had a corner underneath and a safety over top, or a linebacker underneath and a safety over top, which I'm sure he's seen this year, but maybe not the physicality that he got from this East Carolina defense. So that was an important part of taking him out of this game. And so you mentioned how many points they scored against UAB. I think Western had a few of those touchdowns, and so they just didn't have the same success. And I joked during the game that the Pirates finally saw an offense that was worse than how they've been playing, and it speaks to what you just said. The 4 for 17 on third downs, all the 3 and outs that I mentioned. That's what we're used to seeing from the Pirates, and just on and off the field, on and off the field, on and off the field. They were able to move the ball some this game, obviously, to get in scoring position and to get some first downs. And FAU just was not. They just really struggled to move the ball at all. Couldn't run the ball. Great job by Blake Carroll and his defense of taking away the run game and also taking away Western in the passing game.
They played on Howard Schnellenberger Field at Florida Atlantic, and East Carolina had some familiarity with that venue. That's where they played South Florida last year. There was some weather issues on the Gulf Coast, and so you go on the road, but you have some confidence that you've been there and won before.
Yeah, and that's where Rajay Harris hurt his knee last year, and he didn't have the best game, but at least he was able to get over that mental hurdle of going back to the place where he'd gotten injured, starting that game, not getting injured, playing okay. I think that was big for him. But yeah, the Pirates had played there before, had some familiarity, and it's always good when you've been somewhere before and you know what to expect, what the locker rooms are like, what the field is like, the turf is like. That's always helpful. So to go back there and get a win on the road, I'm sure it was a great feeling for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of venues where the Pirates have had success, they go to Navy Marine Corps Stadium in Annapolis, Maryland, noon kickoff against Navy. And Navy leads that series 8-2. Both of East Carolina's wins have been in Annapolis, including 2011, Dominique Davis completing 26 in a row for an NCAA record, 38-35 win. It was 38-35 2 years ago, and Owen Daffer hit the game-winning field goal. He went on scholarship after I think it was a lengthy field goal. I want to say 54 yards, but 38-35 again. So the Pirates are playing where they have won. The series has not been as good in Greenville, obviously, and it's really been one-sided at times in Greenville. So maybe it's a blessing that the Pirates will load up and travel to Annapolis this week.
Out of all the games during my career on the radio that have given me the most heartburn, it's been these Navy games, specifically the ones in Greenville. I think they scored 70 one time. They scored in the 60s another time, maybe the 50s another time. It's just one of those things to where we just could not figure it out. And it's disappointing because you know what offense to expect, at least in prior years. They don't run as much of the triple option look anymore as they used to under the new head coach and the offensive coordinator regime that they have now. But in the past, you were getting that same triple option look, dive man being the fullback, quarterback, pitch man, those 3 options. They really didn't really pass out of it that much. You just have to tackle 3 guys in every play, and the Pirates just had the hardest time doing that. Now, things have changed a lot since Blake Harrell has come on the scene. I think he's been much better against that type of offense, even coached at a school that had that type of offense before, so he knows what to expect, how it works, that kind of thing. And so I think the Pirates are more prepared nowadays, even though the offense has switched some. They still want to run the football. So far this year they've got almost 1,900 yards rushing, versus 520 some yards passing. So they have a little bit more than that. But their starting quarterback has 520 some yards passing. So it's they want to run the football. That's what they've always done. It looks a little bit differently now, and they will pass it from time to time, but they want to run the football. And so the Pirates and this defense, coming off of that win at FAU, coming off only giving up 21 rushing yards. I think they're confident that they can stop the run, but they're going to see a lot of it. The top two running backs, one averaging 6.3 yards a carry, the other one averaging over 4 yards a carry. They get the job done, and you mix in the quarterback and his ability to run. It's a scary offense to face, but they're 4-5. They're only scoring 19 points a game. So there's teams that have figured them out. There's teams that have shut that running game down, and Navy is struggling a lot more than they usually do. So much different Navy team will be there to suit up for the Pirates against the Pirates here come Saturday.
Well, Ken Niumatalolo no longer coaching the midshipmen. The former defensive coordinator, Brian Newberry, is the head coach now. They've got a new offensive coordinator. His name is Grant Chestnut. One thing about Navy in the past, when they've got 4th and short from like midfield on in, they're going to line up and go for it.
Yeah, they've always done that, and it's frustrating because we talk about 3 and outs, and we talk about how FAU was really struggled on 4th down, 3rd down, going 4 for 17, because you get the 4th down and you punt the football, you kick a field goal or something like that. But these guys, they don't do that. And you're right, they get anywhere near midfield and they're going to find a way to get that run game going. And it really doesn't matter how short it is. I mean, it could be 4th and 1, it could be 4th and 4. They may go for it, and so. That's just kind of always been the, Coach Ken's mindset. I'm assuming the new regime is going to take over kind of the same perspective of how they approach their offense, because they know they're usually the underdog, especially in this conference, the way they're playing this year in the conference and overall, with 4-5 overall record. They're going to take some chances and try to win some ball games, but that's just who they are. They're tough. To be in the Naval Academy, you can only be a certain weight to height ratio. And so I think they give them a little bit of leeway when it comes to offensive and defensive linemen, but these guys are in shape. They all can run, they all can move. And so it really fits the offense they like to run in that option game, get these guards and tackles out on the edge, kind of pulling and blocking linebackers and corners and safeties downfield. They have the athleticism to do that. So it makes it so tough to play against them and to get that running back on the ground and get the quarterback on the ground, because how successful they are, how athletic they are at fullback and on the offensive line to help that running back out.
Kevin, there's some irony in the option offense and East Carolina's inability to deal with it at times, because the option offense used to be East Carolina's bread and butter when Pat Dye was coaching, and you had quarterbacks like Mike Weaver and Jimmy Sutherland and Leander Green, and running backs like Theodore Sutton and Eddie Hicks, Anthony Collins, and those guys were just legendary, and they would run that triple option to a T under Coach Pat Dye, but you don't see it much anymore. And so East Carolina has been doing some prep. Coach Mike Houston said in his news conference on Tuesday that they will take some time on Sunday and kind of present things to the defense and present things to the scout team so they can give them a good look on the heavy days Tuesday and Wednesday during game week.
Yeah, and, at times they'll even go over it during the off week, during the bye week, or in the preseason, because they realize how much time it takes to really learn how to stop this option attack, the responsibilities that it takes. And as you get guys injured or you got new starters in, they've got to come in and learn it. And so, yeah, the more time you can spend going against it, the better. I didn't know that about East Carolina's past. Obviously, I started kind of following the Pirates in the late 80s, early 90s. And so I didn't get to see those days. I know as soon as kind of the Bill Lewis, Steve Logan era took over, it was more of a passing attack under Blake and Crandall and all those guys going forward after that. And so it used to be back in the day when you played those big-time opponents, you wanted to maintain time of possession, keep the ball, keep it away from those, really high-powered offenses, and try to fight to the end and try to beat teams 10-9 or 13-10. And so that was probably the approach back then. And then you move into the 90s, and it was, okay, everybody's starting to throw the football. We've got to do that to keep up. And so they started, bringing quarterbacks that had the big arms, bringing a lot of good athletic receivers. And so that day and age really hasn't changed. Now they just, with the spread, they found a way to not go away from the pass as much, away from the run as much as they did in the 90s. In the 90s, they were just throwing it all over the field, and it was hard to get a running back 20, 25 carries. But nowadays, they found a way with the spread offense to mix in the run game off of that pass and the run pass option and different things like that. And so, East Carolina is progressing. And under Holton Ahlers, this offense ran pretty well. People had their complaints at times, but for the most part, this offense ran pretty well. And so they're trying to find that now to be able to mix in the running pass the way they'd like to. They haven't been very successful this year in terms of running the football or throwing the football, and they're trying to get back to that. But yeah, to speak to the way our defense is going to approach it, they will have seen this triple option several times before they line up on Saturday. They know their responsibilities. The key is, can you stay disciplined? Can you stay disciplined? If you've got the dive man, can you not worry about what the quarterback's doing in the backfield? And when he comes through the line, you hit him and bring him on the ground. If you've got the pitch man, you not worry about what the quarterback's doing. You go to the pitch man and take him out. And if you got quarterback, don't worry about all the fakes. You go hit him. And that's the hardest thing. And so there's always going to be a linebacker that has the dive man. There's going to be a linebacker or a defensive back that has the pitch man and the defensive end or linebacker that has a quarterback. And those are the guys that are responsible for blowing those plays up. And if they do their responsibilities, they can be successful against it. And they'll have lots of film this year to watch because 5 teams have found a way to beat Navy thus far.
That's right. And, talking about that triple option, when East Carolina ran it, they didn't throw the ball a lot. But when they did, defenses were often drawn up to defend against the option. Terry Gallagher was a receiver at East Carolina. He set the receiving yards record in a game on just 3 catches. Because I think they all went for touchdowns, and they were all like 60 yards or more just because he got downfield behind the defense, and East Carolina was able to take advantage of that situation. But Navy certainly a challenge, and they've had some big wins in Greenville. 2022 last year was a double overtime game, probably as close as East Carolina has been to beating the Middies in Greenville. Owen Daffer, the hero the year before at Navy, missed a 37-yarder, I think, to send the game to the 3rd overtime. But a very competitive game in Greenville. And then previous to that, 2020, the COVID year, Mason Garcia thrust into the starting lineup as Holton Ahlers had a positive reading on a COVID test. And that was a close contest. I believe that was 27-23 that Navy got that win. But wipe the slate clean as East Carolina goes to Annapolis this weekend, Kevin. And we can take a look at that Bonesville tradition, Kevin's keys to the game.
Yeah, beautiful stadium to play a football game. Always one of my favorite trips. I won't make this one. Andrew Bays will be calling the game, but it's just great to see all the cadets in the stadium, the march pregame, all the pomp and circumstance is really, really cool. They're so welcoming to opposing teams. They always salute the opposing team's fans. And it's just a really cool environment. Even the band gets involved and they'll do the other team's fight song and things like that. And so, players and coaches and fans alike enjoy going to Navy. It's definitely not a hostile environment. The cadets do get into it when the game starts and they get a little bit rowdy, but it's a fun environment to play a game. And I think the Pirates will be ready. I think they have that, that blood and, the taste of blood from beating FAU last week, and they want to go back and get some more of that. And so you'd love to finish this season on a high note and get these last couple wins. It's going to take assignment and alignment football. That's my first key. Assignment and alignment football on defense, because we just talked about all the things that it takes to stop the triple option or whatever variation this new regime is running of the option. Dive man, pitch man, quarterback, they're so important. And as you alluded to, the defensive backs cannot fall asleep and let a guy get downfield. Ty Levitide is one that makes this whole ship go. He's the quarterback. He's the run throw guy. He's been fairly successful through the air throughout his career, but he also can run the football, and he makes sure that these running backs get the ball. So assignment, alignment football, make sure you don't get beat any big plays over the top of your head that they can find a way to do when they want to, score points on you. So that's the first thing. Offensively for the Pirates, continue to try to get in the end zone. It's just been such a struggle to get things going. I will say maintain the ball and moving the chains to keep that offense off the field of Navy, but finding a way when you get in the red zone to score touchdowns. Conrad is a great thing to have. He's a great weapon to have, that he can make 5 field goals, but you're not going to win very many games scoring 5 field goals. So the Pirates have got to find a way to get in the end zone, specifically in the red zone. And then turnovers. We always talk about turnovers, but they're such a big deal, especially on the road, trying to win a conference game. You got to take care of the football. You got to make sure you go out there and get turnovers. And this is a Navy team that doesn't turn it over a whole lot. This is what they do for a living, carrying this football. So you got to go find a way to get that ball back to your offense and see if they can get some points on the board.
Very good, Kevin. And, of course, Navy and Pirates, they've been adversaries way before football started, going back to the days of Blackbeard on the coast of eastern North Carolina. So we'll see what this matchup has in store on Saturday, and look forward to visiting with you next week on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast.
Appreciate it, Al.